Welcome back, darlings. My home is in full-on renovation mode, which is it's kind of fun, not always fun. It's loud, it's dirty, it's so expensive. I just learned today that a closet shelf is going to cost me $500. Great. As unfun as those things are, some of the very fun things, though, are knowing that I get to decorate my home, that I get to sort of restore parts of my home, that I get to make my 1956 home on a hill in San Francisco very period appropriate. What that means, though, is I need to do vintage shopping, I need to do antique shopping, I need to source things that make sense, and that is fun. So come with me as I hit some of my very favorite spots in San Francisco to source vintage and antique decor items, and as we get a little crafty. Should be really fun. This is one of my favorite little neighborhoods in San Francisco, and it is totally underrated. It's called West Portal, and it's kind of like the neighborhood that time forgot. There are these tiny little mom and pop shops, there's little bookstores, there's little cafes, and all of these places have been there forever, and they don't show any sign of going anywhere soon. So yes, I know we're on the hunt for vintage and antiques today, but I did have to stop and take a little tour around just the cutest little neighborhood. This little gem of an antique store is actually one of a pair, and I'm not quite sure if they work together or not, but it is chock full of every type of antique you could possibly want, every little vintage knickknack, just genuinely everything you want in an antique store. And the little store next door is vintage lighting, like vintage chandeliers, vintage sconces, all of the things you might need if you are looking to redo a vintage home. And genuinely, the prices are not that crazy, especially if you're looking for something incredibly particular. I spent so long in this store today, I couldn't film it all because I had a bunch of things in my hands. But again, when I say you can find anything in here, I mean it. Next thing on my list this day was to source some vintage flooring. Now, when I say that this is the neighborhood that time forgot, there is a flooring store called Armstrong Flooring that has been there since the 40s, I think. And they have vintage linoleums, which is exactly what I was looking for. So I went in to look at all of the color samples to talk to them about how much I would need and really get a sense of what this stuff would look like in my new vintage home. So this, friends, will be the closet. Now, this room isn't that big, but this closet certainly is. I'm so excited to actually have a place to put my clothes and store some things. I know it sounds crazy. This is going to be a French door. And then this side of the room is going to be sort of our workout wall. We're going to put like a Swedish ladder and do some yoga stuff there. This pocket door will clothes. And then again, this corner is going to be all closet. So since I didn't find the lighting that I was looking for in West Portal, I did decide to go to the thrift store and see what I could find. This little guy almost made the cut, honestly. Now, again, this is where you want to look for things that maybe seem out of place, but you have to see their potential. This certainly's got potential. After the thrift store, it was on to my second favorite thrift store, which is Building Resources here in San Francisco, where anything that you're looking for your home, they've got secondhand. So obsessed with these tiles. It was really making me rethink my flooring choices. I was just cranking through ideas of how and where I could use them. I actually have a satellite light in my kitchen. It pulls up and down. It's retractable. But this one made me really reconsider replacing it with this one. And this antique Victorian coat rack. Oh, you're killing me. And then from there, we headed over to Discount Fabrics because I wasn't able to find any curtain fabric at the thrift store that I really liked. So I wanted to go touch some fabric and see what they had. Reached the crafty portion of the video. Now, I had originally wanted to do a fantastic little craft from one of these vintage patterns that I've got. If you've been around, you know I collect vintage patterns, and I pulled out a few of my decorator pattern series from Simplicity. I mean, I have this laundry basket. I want to make that laundry basket liner. And I am getting my new laundry room downstairs. Basically, I had a laundry room. Now I'm going to have a laundry room wall. It's going to be very cool. And I'm getting a closet. So I did want to do some hangers and some clothes rack, garment bag things. And also, ooh, I love it. These shoe bags, look at that. So cute. One minor detail. My sewing machine, Pauline, had to go to the sewing machine doctor. Basically, a few videos ago, I'll link it somewhere, her band broke, and she is a vintage mechanical 1970s machine. So did I get a new band? Yes. Does it work? Not really. And she hasn't worked right since. So I took her in to be cleaned, tuned up, repaired, and he's going to fix the band. And unfortunately, that means I am sewing machine-less currently, so I can't do any of these super fun projects that I wanted to do. It doesn't mean that we're not going to do something. It does also mean, though, I've been pondering, thinking about getting a backup machine for a long time. And I just haven't, because I really love my machine and I couldn't think of what I would need a machine to do that my current one doesn't do. She is legitimately an old school zigzag machine. She doesn't even have a buttonhole function. Hey, buddy. But she does all the things that I need her to do because I tend to make patterns from that era. That's all it requires. But I have recently wanted to make some buttonholes, but my buttonholer wasn't working. It was a whole lot. So anyways, I got a vintage buttonholer. That is here. The sewing machine that it attaches to is not. So I realized a machine that could actually make buttonholes and was a nice compact size that I could just, pull out when I needed a super fancy stitch or a backup when Pauline is in for service, because I do try to keep her clean and regularly maintained. I think of her much like my car. I've been shopping around. I really wanted to get a used machine because that's very much what I prefer to do. At the shop that I take her to, they did have some machines, but I didn't really like any of them. They were all much heavier duty than I needed. So I've been shopping around for one, and I still haven't pulled the trigger. So, point being, Pauline is being cleaned. She's being serviced. She's being maintained. She's going to come back shiny, bright, fancy new, and I will be able to get to some of these. But for now, we're going to have to kind of do plan B, super fun project. And what I'm thinking is, well, I really need some more hangers because I am going to have a new closet space. I'm actually going to have space to hang my clothes, which is going to be fabulous and fascinating. And I'm so excited about it. I do not have enough hangers. What I do have is a pile of wire hangers that need to go back to the dry cleaner, that keep coming from the dry cleaner every time I pick up dry cleaning. They're really annoying, but it seems wasteful to just throw them away, which is why I take them back to the dry cleaner. But also it seems wasteful to buy more hangers when those keep showing up to my house. So I have an inspiration. So if you saw my closet clean out video from a while ago, these were in there. Now, my great grandmother, of whom the sewing machine is named after, made these sometime in the 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. They are crocheted, and they've got super cute little wrap around them. They are just the little metal hangers under there. Now, I have decided I'm not really a crochet gal. I tried it. I just didn't love it. I don't like the way it feels. I don't enjoy the yarn of it. However, I do know that you can use ribbons, you can use fabric, and you can kind of wrap these so you get the same effect without the crochet. Now, I've got a huge box full of vintage seam binding, bias tape, just general trims. I think that there's absolutely no way we can't make some super cute, super fun hangers for me to use in my new closet. And then when Pauline does get returned to me, we can make some really cute fabric ones with their own little coats, basically. I normally don't actually like sewing things for my home, but I'm weirdly really excited to kind of make some of these vintage closet organizer things. These boot carriers, look at these. Come on, those are ridiculous. Amazing and ridiculous. Look at those. I will not be making those, but some of these other things I absolutely, oh my gosh, I just realized the wig. Do I have a wig? No. Do I now want a wig head holder so I can just put a wig on it? Mm-hmm. Oh, she's so cute. I'm so excited, again, to do some of these, but that is going to be a future project. I will be doing the ironing board cover, this laundry basket liner, a few other things. I'm really excited, but let's get started on some hangers. So I'm going to start out by saying this is not an in-depth tutorial. And also I would normally not use these two colors together. I'm just putting them together so you can see what I'm doing. Basically, if you've ever made a lanyard or a friendship bracelet at summer camp, you can figure this out. You crisscross the beginnings of them, or you can masking tape them to the hanger, and then you tie knots, or you braid, or you wind, whatever works for you. Again, this one comes out not looking the greatest because I was just trying to make it visible for you, but it totally works. At the top, and then now I'm just wrapping the wires. I like these ones with the cardboard on the bottom because they're a little bit thicker, and if you want to hang something over it, it keeps it from getting too creased, so I really like that. So again, I am just crisscross wrapping that bar part. And then because why not, let's tie a little bow. You can absolutely do little pom-poms, or you could leave it plain, or you could put a tassel, anything you want. So here with this one, I'm gonna do just purely wrapping, and I'm using really, really fat bias tape, which works great. My grandmother actually taught me how to do this. She used to braid rag rugs way back in the day. So if you think of it like that, like you are just trying to make this cord go around another thing. It's so simple. Look at that bow, so cute. And then just to show you how easy it is, one last wrapped one with just a really small piece of singular bias tape. If you're like, yeah, but I only have one scrap ribbon lying around. Totally usable. And then look, I added a little bow. Look how cute.
So we've got our little hangers. Aren't they so cute? I love them. They're not exactly the ones that I wanted to do from my sewing patterns, but when I get my machine back and I'm able to pull out my fabric stash, it's the first project I will be doing. I absolutely would love to make more of these with very cutesy, tassels and using very cute pink trims and that sort of a thing. Hi, honey. But for right now, these are exactly what I need. Taking things that are throwaway, like this vintage bias tape that came, from Goodwill, and these hangers that came from the dry cleaners, and turning them into something actually useful. That's what I mean when I say that vintage decor can absolutely be done on the cheap. My number one tip, find something that was going to be thrown away, repurpose. Tip number 2 is to look at things for what they could be, not necessarily what they were or even are. I think one of my favorite things that I found is this lamp. It's meant to be like a hanging sconce. I'm going to turn it into a standing lamp. I'm on the hunt for a lamp kit to do that. But I just think it's absolutely beautiful. It says, there were other broken pieces that made the whole lamp. And at the salvage yard, the guy said I could buy just the one since I wasn't going to be using the whole fixture. And so while this was meant to be a whole big part of a set of one big like chandelier type thing, it's going to be a very cute boudoir type lamp for me. And at the store, 2 other things that I found that are going to be absolutely crucial to my new little lighting project is one, this lampshade. I cannot wait to do this. It does require my glue gun, which is packed away, so you're all going to have to wait for that. But I am going to find a very sweet, girly pink chiffon type fabric to go with that jadeite lamp base. I'm going to make a very sweet little lamp. I also, talking about things that you have to see what they could be, I found this wire office bin at the thrift store. I'm going to spray paint it gold, and I'm going to use it to put my towels in. I'm going to roll them up and use this behind the bath. The other thing you may have seen as I was driving away from the antique shop in West Portal is a plant stand. This is a vintage outdoor living in the elements covered in rust plant stand. I am going to sand it off. I'm going to paint it up, and I am going to use it next to my new bathtub to put my bath salts and maybe my little boudoir lamp and some candles, that sort of thing. It's completely not what it's for. I might most likely, may not, probably won't even put a plant on it, but it has such potential to be anything that I think could be really useful. That's my number 2 tip for inexpensive vintage decor, is really look at what things could be, not necessarily what they are. There's going to be so many more things coming. Most things are still packed away. I've got lots and lots of little vintage treasures to share with you, but I do have to wait until I'm able to unpack them. So I know this could be a little unsatisfying for some of you out there. So yeah, the project coming up is going to be decorating my new vintage bathroom, my new sewing room / closet. Both of these are going to be filled with vintage items. So hit subscribe if you want to follow along to see the finished product of a lot of these arts and crafts and vintage treasure hunting. I'd love to know if you really like vintage decor, what are your budget tips for it? Because as we all know, you can spend as much as you want on vintage dressing and vintage decor, but how do you find treasures for money that makes sense for you, right? Whatever that budget is. I would absolutely love to know. I would love to know your tips. I'm sure, even though I've been doing this for a long time, I'm sure you've got tips
that'll help me find some gems out in the wild. So please do share. And thank you so much for spending your time with me. I really do appreciate it. Until I see you next time, stay hunting, stay creative, stay crafty. I'll see you soon. Bye.